All right. Thank you everyone for joining. My name is Jael Whitney Brothers. I'm the Assistant Director for the Honoring Nations program at the Harvard Project on Indigenous Governance and Development, and I'd like to welcome you all here today. Thank you for joining us. A few of my colleagues are on the phone as well. I'll have them introduce themselves and then we'll go ahead and kick off the presentation. So I'll start with Megan.
Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Megan Minoka Hill. I'm the Senior Program Director of the Harvard Project on Indigenous Governance and Development, and I will pass the mic.
Awesome.
Oh, and I'm Oneida too.
Oh, perfect. Yes, and I forgot that in my introduction as well. I am also from the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. I will pass to Amy and then Melissa.
Hi, I'm Amy Beathall Medford, and I'm Brothertown, and I'm a research affiliate with the Harvard Project, and have been helping out with Honoring Nations for a few decades.
Thanks, Amy. Good morning or good afternoon, and maybe good morning to everyone. My name is Melissa Yazzie. I'm a citizen of the Navajo Nation. I've been with the Honoring Nations and Harvard Project team for about 5 years now. I'm the Assistant Director of Outreach and Communications. Welcome.
Awesome, thank you. So for our presentation today, we'll go a little bit into the history of the Harvard Project. We'll talk a little bit about how the award came to be and what we focus on. And then we'll talk about eligibility and the application process. FAQs we'll go into a little bit. And then at the end, we'll have time for questions and answers. And we can be really high level or specific, whatever you need in filling out your application. So a little bit about the Harvard Project on Indigenous and Governance and Development. It was founded in 1987, and it has been a recognized leader in practical research, teaching, leadership development, policy analysis, and pro bono advising for Native communities. Honoring Nations was first kicked off in 1999 as their flagship awards program, and it is specifically focused on shining a light on excellence in tribal governance. And so since then, we have had 142 programs from over 100 tribal nations that have received an award. So this year, we will be selecting 6 tribal governance programs to receive Honoring Nations 2025 awards, which will include international recognition as well as a monetary award. So up to 3 programs will receive high honors, which will include a $5,000 award, and that can be used to share your stories. With those, there's also a potential for exhibits at the Smithsonian to celebrate your work and impact. And then the other 3 awardees will receive a designation of honors and an award of $2,000. We make these announcements at the National Congress of the American Indian, and so we will also provide support for up to 2 members of the program team to be in attendance to receive the award. And so some of the other benefits of the program include potential online multimedia exhibits through Google, case studies, and other curricular materials that would be shared with tribal leaders, public servants, media, scholars, students, and others interested in promoting and fostering excellence in tribal governments. We accept applications from a wide variety of program topics, including cultural affairs, education, government performance, intergovernmental relations, economic and community development, environmental and natural resources, health and social services, justice. And we also take programs that cover multiple dimensions of these areas or work across different tribal departments, or even programs that work between different tribes as well. Partnerships between tribal governments and other entities are welcome to apply, and multiple applications from a single Indian nation are also encouraged. The main qualification is that the program must have been in operation for at least a year as of January 29th, 2025. This is because one of the things that we look for is demonstrated data of success. And so having this amount of time pass, it gives you a good amount of time to have that data available and be able to share it. So some of the other criteria that we're looking for: significance to sovereignty and how you're supporting your tribal government in its own self-determination. Effectiveness, again, going back to data, what success have you already seen with the program and what are you looking for towards the future? Cultural relevance and how the program is specifically impacted by your own tribe's culture and community. Transferability, what are the best practices that other tribes could potentially learn from or apply to their own programs? And sustainability, what is the plan to keep this program in place and how can it impact your own sustainability and environmental goals as well? So for the process itself, the first stage is completing our online application by January 29th, 2025 at 5 p.m. Eastern. So with this one, we do recommend having maybe an online Google Doc or other collaborative document that you can work on with your team where you copy the answers over and you're able to work on it that way. And so you can work collaboratively, but also have those answers saved and you can copy and paste them easily into the application once they're finished. And so again, we'll be taking those applications all the way through January 29th, 2025. And so if you have any questions between then and now, I'm happy to meet with your team and answer those questions or answer them via email, whatever is easiest for you. And so from there, we'll go into our review round with our different team members to kind of look through all the applications that we received. And from there, we will move forward 18 applications to the semifinalist round, where we will have some additional questions that we'll reach out and ask, maybe some additional documentation that we'll ask for based on what you've sent us so far. And then also we'll want a support letter from one of your tribal leaders, and that will be due on March 31st, 2025. And then from there, we will send those applications on to our board, and they will start to make decisions about which of these applications will be narrowed down to the 6 that we'll want to do for our site visit round. And then these site visits will be conducted between June and August of next year. And so those are one-day visits where our team comes out and like sees in person the program that you're working on and learns more, gets to meet people in real life. And it's a really cool opportunity, and it's definitely one of our favorite parts of the process. And then from there, the finalists will be selected and celebrated by our Board of Governors at the National Congress of American Indians in fall of 2025, which I've heard it will be in Seattle, Washington next year. All right. So that's kind of the high level overview, but we thought we'd leave some time for any more specific questions or any more context or background that you all would like to have. So I'll open up to the floor. You can put questions in the chat, or you can raise your hand using the Zoom raise hand function and we'll get to you. And thank you to everybody that has put your introductions in the chat. If you haven't already introduced yourself in the chat, feel free to do that now as well. If we submitted our application already, can we go back and edit? There is definitely a possibility of that. If it's before the deadline, we're happy to go into the Salesforce application and reopen it if for some reason you turned in some inaccurate data or you feel like you have some new evidence that you'd like to add. We can do that. We'll just need an email from you to let us know that you need that. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, thank you for having the call today. Just one quick question. We've reviewed the application with the questions on their application. Is there, in addition to the application, is there an essay that goes along with it? Or is it only, are you looking only at our responses to the questions on the application?
Yeah, it's only the questions on the application, and we intentionally designed them to be on the shorter side so that it's hopefully pretty easy for your team to fill out, but still like enough information for us to be able to tell like what the success of the program is. And so what's in the application online right now is for now, at this stage, all you would have to fill out. There might be additional questions at that later stage in March, but those will be very highly dependent on what's in the application. And so there won't be any additional essay questions in that regard.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And then there was a question in the chat about if we will be sharing the slides from this meeting or the recorded presentation. I will be sending out the link afterward with the link to the recording. And then I noticed that sending the slides sometimes made the emails bounce. So what I'll say in the email is, if you want the slides, let me know. And then I will just send them to you directly after that. That way I don't get flagged for spam or anything. And then, yes, Doreen, we can definitely work on getting your application reopened. And thank you, Melissa, for helping out with that. All right, let's see, Judy, I believe you were next.
Thank you. I was just going to ask if you could say a little bit more about transferability. I heard you, but it was pretty quick.
Oh, sorry about that. Megan, I think if you could provide a little bit of extra context there, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in terms of the criteria that we use to evaluate the programs, the transferability is really looking at what lessons from the work that you do can be really teased out and adapted and applied to another government, whether it's a native government or other. Part of the reason why we do this work is because while nothing is cookie cutter in Indian country, you can't pick up a solution to one problem and just plop it down in another nation. But we do think that there are lessons that can be teased out and, like I said, adapted and applied. And we also do this to demonstrate to our non-native neighbors that not only are tribal nations and their governments still here, but they also have something to learn from us. And so in terms of responding to that question, if in the course of your work, you have worked with any other governments, native governments or other governments, to share the work that they do, and if any aspects maybe have been implemented or have served as inspiration for those other governments as they tackle whatever challenge your work is focused on. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yes, that helped. Thank you so much.
And we're always happy to review any questions and offer suggestions if that's useful.
That's great. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Sherry, I think you're next.
Thanks very much for taking my question. We applied a few years ago. I can't remember when we applied, but we did not. Of course, we did not receive the award, and I failed to ask for a debrief. Is that still possible to get a reaction to our previous application?
Yeah, absolutely. Sherry, maybe we can email back and forth offline, and I can learn what program you're associated with, and we can give you any advice and suggestions for this round. Happy to.
Great, thank you, Megan.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And then I saw Jamie put their hand back down, so maybe that was from the previous question. Are there any other questions? And yeah, as I shared in the chat, we will be sending out the recording afterward. We will be sending out the slides to people that request them. And with the recording link, that is something that it's a public link, so you can share it with anybody else in your team that would be helpful to have that information. And then you'll also have my email address as well, and I can connect you either with Megan if we've talked with Megan online, or me. I'm also happy to answer your questions. And we will be sure to also be able to schedule time with you one-on-one if you need it during the application process. So I'll give it maybe one more minute in case anybody either wants to raise their hand or put a question in the chat. Yes, I can give you my email address one more time. I will also be emailing everybody that's registered for this today, so you'll have it there too, but I'll put it in the chat just in case. Thank you. Thank you so much for the kind remarks and the comments. I appreciate that. I'll go ahead and stop the recording.
Oh, sorry, just to
Oh,
before
no,
you
oh,
go.
yes. Awesome.
Sagal, I'm Rayanne Adams from the St. Regis Mohawk Tribe. I'm here representing Akwesasne Travel. And I just had a question regarding what are the expectations of the awardees upon receiving a designation? Like, what are the expectations? You know, what is the work that has to go in after that? I just wonder, because we have a very small team and I'm always thinking about capacity. So that comes to mind before entering into something like this, because we've done these before and very grateful and honored to be in this group. But just I want to know from expectation standpoint, what are we looking at moving forward?
Great question. So if a program is awarded an Honoring Nations Award, the expectations are pretty simple. What the goal is to share your story. And so with the monetary award that Jael mentioned, there is only one string attached. And that is you can use it for whatever you would like to use it for, as long as it shares your story in whatever way you feel is helpful for your work. And so we will do work on the back end. So we will draft up a case study of your work, what we learned. We will send it to you. We never put anything out into the public domain without tribal approval. So if there's something in what we drafted that you want to change, we will absolutely change it to your specification. So we will ask for a little time after the award to review a 3-page case study celebrating your work. And then if the program is selected for a exhibit at the Smithsonian or with our online portal through Google, we will just ask that you review the materials, because we want to shine a light on your work in the way that you want the light shined. So there shouldn't be too much work on the back end, but we will reach out to you just to make sure that we're in alignment with you, because we're here to celebrate you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that great question. I'll give it maybe like 30 more seconds and then I'll stop the recording. Of course, I'm also happy to answer things off the record. Maybe I'll go ahead and do that anyways, just in case.